Okay.
Fine. Spare.
Wait till Chad gets back.
Yep. Sorry, I was grabbing my drink there.
All right. Well, let me give you a little intro, Chad. So we have Chad Mississippi Johnson tonight. He is a native of Crystal Springs, Mississippi. His love for fly fishing began after he first visited the White River in the spring of 2003, which, by the way, that's a great story in and of itself. Chad moved to the White River area in July 2006. He has guided on the White River system since 2007. He has also guided out of Rocky River Lodge in Port Graham, Alaska in 2007 and 2010 for both salmon and Dolly Varden. With persistence and hard work, Chad has accomplished more than he could ever imagine. He is an incredibly innovative fly tyer who has developed a number of signature flies that have gained great prominence throughout the fly fishing industry. His work has been featured in numerous fly fishing magazines and books. Most notably, Chad is an amazing guide. I've been lucky enough to fish in his boat. He provides superb guidance while maintaining a light, humorous disposition, and he shares his knowledge of nature, birds, and animals in between corny jokes. He's a truly great guy, and it is my great pleasure to present Chad Johnson, who will tie CJ's Party Crasher, one of his signature flies. Thank you, Chad.
Yes, sir. Thank you, boys, for having me. It'll be fun. I don't typically know how you boys get started here or not, but he pretty much told the story as far as, who I am and what I do here. But it's just a lot of fun. Like we talked and met contact at the Sow Bug and just getting together with different guys and tying and kind of sharing tricks and tactics and that type thing with each other. It's a lot of fun for me. Quick question. My screen just went black. Can you see my fly well? Or my vise?
Yep, we can see it.
Yes.
Okay, there. It just come back on. Okay. All right. So
Chad, you just kind of talk us through it as you're tying. People.
Yeah, I'm going to give y'all some little. I mean, I'm just doing a single. I mean, I didn't know whether I would be the only tyer or not. So I brought the stuff to tie a single because I didn't want to butt in and take too long. But I got a couple of little tricks I'll show y'all on this and kind of describe why I'm doing it.
That's what we're looking for.
Kind of as I go. But and I'll show you the materials and that type thing. So we'll just go ahead and get started, boys. Kind of the concept of this fly is I fish for a lot of bass, and I fish a lot with a sink tip line. And so one of the things that I found out in my streamer tying is that if I will make a buoyant head on my streamers, that it creates this funny effect where your sinking line wants to pull your fly down, but that floating head wants to rise back up. And the two fighting against each other create this really great erratic swimming action. And so that's kind of the concept behind this fly. And a lot of the stuff I do isn't, 7-8 inches long, like a lot of the stuff you've seen of mine. I do a lot of 4-inch stuff because, the smallmouth bass in the creeks and the largemouth on the creeks, I think 4 inches is like this magic number. I go down to 3 and I don't feel like I get that same response. I go up to 5 or 6. It feels like a little too much for some of the creek bass. And it just seems like that 4 inches is just kind of funny. And so we're going to do a little 4-inch bass bug. I am tying on a 3/0 Gamakatsu worm hook. And I just take on the little barbs up on the head there, and I just pinch them to get them out of the way. You know, it's got those worm barbs on it. But I just like this fly. I like this hook because of the gape on it. And so I feel like with these bass, with these largemouth and smallmouth, I want as much hook showing as I can. I don't want the material to block the hook point at all. And so I tend to go with a little bigger hook when I'm going for bass. On my thread, I've just gotten to where anymore, I almost just use GSP on any of my streamers. That's just, it's so strong. You don't have to worry about breaking it. You can really lock materials in. You've got to worry a little bit about cutting foam and things like that, which we'll actually talk about on the head of it. But I tend to use that GSP. And then I'm just using like an American Rooster saddle. But on that saddle, you know, it's got all the big long stuff on the backs for all your big bugs, but it's got all that middle stuff for 4-inch bugs as well. So let me just find a couple of feathers here.
What size GSP, Chad?
You know, I use 50 or 100.
Yep. Okay.
It's once you go up to one that big, it doesn't really matter. It's a pretty thick cord anyway. And so, you know, the difference between 100 and the 50, you know, it isn't all that much as far as build up. Okay, I'm going to take these. I'll show you a little trick on putting these feathers on as well. You know how when we're putting these tail feathers on, they always want to turn on us, right? Well, naturally on the stem already is the perfect little wedge. If you will not put it on the side of the hook, and you don't put it on the top of the hook, but you put it on the side of the top, watch. When I lock that in right where it's supposed to be, I think that's it. No. Can't get this one up there. I'm trying to show y'all now. I can't do it. There it goes. Okay. And then you take your other and plant it and do the same thing. And those guys will ride perfectly. This one's always the second one that's harder to get. There it went. All right. But there's just this little spot and it makes you not have to fight it quite so hard. You know, those feathers will stay right for you or whatever. I don't know. I always found it hard because they always wanted to roll on me and I couldn't ever get my feathers to line up and flank right. But anyway, and then this is just like a polar chenille. But it's from MFC, and they do this one that's quite a bit longer. You know, it's got quite a bit more fiber on it. Not as close to chest as a lot of the crystal chenille and all is. I like it where it kind of comes out a little bit. Otherwise, you'd put so much material over the top of it that you wouldn't see any of the base layer. And I like that silver flash being in that base layer like that. I found that my bass, they like flash. And so I want that to kind of show. And then I'm just going to kind of palmer and brush back. What it is, you know, you could stack all kinds of stuff along this hook. Most of it would just be weighing down your fly. And I feel like when you get a bunch of like soggy, saggy materials in it, it really slows it down. Like it loses a lot of action. That whole, you know, tie sparse thing. That's for more than one reason, not just for bulk. Whenever I get to these bigger flies, it's more about the action. And so whether I'm tying a single or whether I'm tying a double, the back portion of the fly, whether it's on a separate hook or on the same hook like this, is nothing but to follow the head. The whole thing on that is on a streamer is the head of it. You want to keep the back just as light and sparse and thin as you can without losing a little bulk, because you just want it to follow the head. And then all of a sudden, if you bulk up the tail, when it goes to turn and make that sharp turn where it's fixing to zigzag for you and fight that sinking line, it'll just kind of get heavy and just kind of not turn in the water right. It just gets real luggish where it'll turn a quarter of the way instead of turning all of the way. So just really don't bulk up the back of any of your streamers, especially if it's a double. If it's a double, it really comes into play. But I'm kind of trying to talk and slow down because this can be like a freaking 15-minute session, man. And then I'm going to go to a bucktail.
Let me ask questions so that it's not 15 minutes. So
Okay.
are your tail feathers, are the cup sides facing each other, or the
Yes,
cups?
the cup sides are facing each other.
Yeah. So it
Yeah.
forms like a nice
Nice straight
Yep.
sleek. Yep. Not the like where you take and do them the opposite way and splay them out, where they sit separate.
Right.
I mean, that works. A lot of fish like that. I've seen a lot of bugs like that. But I've never seen a fish with a split tail.
Right.
I've seen a lot of flies.
That's right. And both of these materials so far shed water really well when you cast.
This is nothing. I mean, basically right now we've kind of got the weight of the hook.
Yep.
We have no bulk yet.
Mm-hmm.
And like I say, especially on a double, no bulk in the back.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want any bulk. And even in this one, I don't do my singles with bulk in the back. Zoe, what are you chewing on? Yeah, had to check on my dog. I thought she was chewing on a wire. These dogs will keep you on on your toes. Yeah, so everything now is just about keeping it light. And then the next thing is going to be about, what you don't want whenever you get a fly in the water is for it to slick down like a pencil. Minnows are not that thin. It's got to have some body to it and some bulk. And because we've kept the whole back end thin, we don't have any of that. And this is going to slick straight down. This does not have anything that's strong enough that's going to hold it out. And so that's where bucktail comes into play. And I'm not trying to get this to be buoyant here or anything. I just need something that's going to flare out some. And that flare out is going to help the next materials that I put on it not just drape down like a pencil. But my other materials have a tendency to get thin as well. And so that's why I put this little bit of bucktail in there just to give it some body profile. So we're just gonna, and I don't know if y'all, so on bucktails, like I get to go hand select a bunch of my bucktails. And the fiber on the top of the bucktail is so much different than the fiber on the bottom of the bucktail. And if you watch, you can see how slow that rebounds and kind of pops back up. And then look how quick that pops up back, right? This is much stiffer. Well, what it is, it's more hollow. Anything that's more hollow is going to flare better for you. And so since I want that big profile, I want to flare it and bring it out where it keeps me profile. I'm going to pick hair from the bottom of the bucktail because I'm going to be able to flare it more, right? Oh, and whenever you're cutting off of a bucktail, you know how you're always fighting and you got to either put it in a stacker or do something to get your tips straight? Anywhere on this bucktail, instead of grabbing it and cutting it, if you will take and pull it 90 off of the bucktail, all of your tips will be straight. You don't have to put it in a stacker, right? Because they're uneven, but they're the same length, but they're uneven because it's going up. But as soon as you pull it 90 off of it, it takes that away, and you don't have to worry about using a stacker on. Yeah, a little tip anyway. I'm just cleaning out the under fur out of it, getting a lot of that underbelly and underbody out of it. And maybe a good, like, less than a pencil size clump is what I would say. Just a little less than a pencil, as big around as a pencil would be. And when I'm doing this, I'm not just putting it on here like this. I'm going to take and push it all the way around the hook before I cinch it down. Then I'm going to come in like this. And I'm going to push it all the way down around the hook like that, and then grab it with both hands. Grab it with that back hand. See how well that flared for me? And that's just anytime I do a bucktail like that, I'll pull some up and like kind of lock it in, and then I'll come through and trim all that out. All the front parts,
Looks like
just the part that's brushed forward.
Looks like that you were trying to get to about midway on the feather tail.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. At least midway of the feather, because I want all of this when this does brush back. See how it'll be like it will taper into the tail.
Yep.
Instead of being like a big clump and then the tail, this will come down and kind of taper into that tail. Mm-hmm. And then this is also, because it's flared out so big, it's gonna hold that other material up.
And you get a big profile without a bunch of bulk or stuff that's sucking up water. Mm-hmm.
And bucktail sheds water really well as well, so we still have a very light bug that's going to shed a bunch of water. And it needs to, because the next materials we put on are going to hold a little water. So it's going to need to do its job for us. All right. So I'm just right there. And now this is just regular strung marabou. This is going to give it some life. That's another thing about the bass is I've noticed even on some of my bugs over on the creek that I'm doing better with like a little rabbit tail that when it hits the bottom kind of breathes. Like those bass like to see that movement. They pay attention to that. That's a big deal. And so I like when I stop that fly for it to still be some material in it moving. If you hold a fish, even if it's sitting still, it's still sitting there moving and breathing. And, well, why would our bugs be any different? If we can make them breathe when they're sitting still, that's probably a plus for us. It's funny. I feel like a lot of times when we get to time bugs, we negate what the fish want. Because something else might look a little better.
Well,
We're always trying to catch fishermen first, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, and then I'm just going to brush down here. I'm going to take it like this. I'm just going to brush down and get a little piece of the top. And I'm
So
going to tie it in.
looks like a pretty big piece of marabou, nice and wide. Is that?
Oh yes, I want I want it the barbs on this long enough to go back to the tail. And so I'm picking a big, you're right, I picked a big clump of it. And because we're looking for some bulk, I don't strip one side off of it. I go with the whole thing here.
Got Scott.
You got bumped?
He's still there, but he's not focused. We lost him.
Uh-oh, we lose somebody.
There we go. There you go. You're back, sir.
He's back. You didn't miss nothing. See, and I put almost that whole feather in there. And I'm going to wrap back on that, back to where I tied in the bucktail. Ooh, pulled a little too hard. Well, I'm sitting here telling you can't break GSP, and I got this 50 on, and I just broke it.
Always happens on video.
Oh yeah. Oh no, dude, there's no such thing as a perfect set.
Yeah, that's right.
If it can, it will. Whenever you're doing these things,
I cut my thread as I was teaching people to tie flies today at the VA. For God's sake.
see, it happens to everybody.
That's right.
I know. I had Kelly Gallup in the boat, and we went and we were just fishing together, and we went to the first bank, and I threw it in 2 trees. And I thought, oh God, here this guy, I'm supposed to be the streamer guy down here. I can't even get a dang fly in the water. He's going to think I can't fish for crap. And we get around the corner and he puts it in a tree, and I start dying out laughing. And he's, what are you laughing at? I was like, man, I'm just glad to know it happens to everybody. I said, I was feeling awful embarrassed up there. He was like, oh yeah, it happens to all of us. It gets the best of us.
Well, Kelly speaks very highly of you on his podcast.
Oh, very good. No,
Yeah.
Kelly's a good dude. I know he was kind of rough and tumbly back in the day, but we all get older and come into our own. So this is just flash, just crystal flash in a silver, just like that center body material I used was a silver as well. I know I didn't have a pack for that, but that material was also silver. And I'm probably taking like 6 strings, not too many. And on these, I just go down each side. I just, probably back to about halfway down the tail feather. And I just come on one side and wrap it. Y'all all know how to tie flash. And then I'm just bringing it to the other side, no different than you would a woolly booger or anything else, and grabbing it on that side, and then coming back and seeing, okay, it's about that long, so I'm going to clip it right there. All right. So just putting a little, I like to cut it, that's the lipstick. Put a little lipstick on it. All right. We're gonna do our last body material. And what I'm doing is adding in some more motion, but really toning down that chartreuse. You can see how bold that chartreuse is at this point, and that white is actually almost, that white deer hair is almost covered up that we put in there for a platform. You can't even hardly see it, right? And so I don't want a solid chartreuse fly. I want those chartreuse highlights. And so this is going to be just a white craft fur, just a chunk of white craft fur, or Santa Claus. All right. Or we could bring Zoe up and get a piece off of her. Can y'all hear me okay right now?
Yes,
We can hear you. Yes.
we can hear you.
Okay, I was picking up something weird there.
Somebody's not on mute. So.
Yeah.
No, okay. I just, all of a sudden, I thought I was hearing, I couldn't tell. All good. I just making sure y'all could hear me. Now, I don't know how much y'all have dealt with craft fur, but oh my God, like this little bitty piece of craft fur I'll
hate
get.
it.
Look at
I hate
all
it.
the underbody I'm pulling out of it. Look.
You know, I thought craft fur was going to be an easy alternative to deer hair. Oh my God, I hate it.
No. No, it's really not.
Nope.
Okay, and so here again, I'm going to take a little less than a pencil-sized clump. Give me time here. I need to get one more. I really like craft fur, or should I say, the bass really like craft fur. I use a lot of craft fur, and I use a lot of, on my small stuff, I use a lot of rabbit. Just these last couple of years, I've just really come to find out just how much they want that material moving. So you got bugs like I don't know if y'all know any of my bugs or not, but anyway, I got one called a sluggo. A sluggo is almost all tied out of feathers and bucktail. And so it has a phenomenal action. But it's a hard bait. It's what I would call a hard bait because there's nothing in that bait that moves at all. The only feather I got in it is only 3/4 of an inch long. You ain't getting no movement out of that. The rest of it's either tight to chest or bucktail. And so, I mean, I was catching plenty of fish on it, but as I started learning these things on this material moving, I then come in behind it and tied a Big Johnson. And the reason that I tied the Big Johnson is it is the same concept as the sluggo. It's almost, the whole back half of it is almost the same ply. And except I added craft fur, and then the front part of it has a deer hair head just like the sluggo, but behind it I put marabou, and in front of it I put craft fur again, kind of like this one. And oh my God, at the difference it made for catching bass. When I would stop that big old 7-inch bug and it would turn a 90 in the water column, and then you would just see the materials on that thing flush to one side and how that material would move. And the second I would stop at those, it was such a distinct difference that it was noticeable, right? And so now the more I'm tying for bass, the more I'm trying to incorporate movement. And so it's just something no different than take Bob Clouser's Clouser minnow. tied out of bucktail. I tie the same exact bug, but with craft fur, and I catch more fish off of it than I can a bucktail clouser. Now, when I'm fishing stripers, they like the bucktail clouser. But when I'm fishing largemouth or smallmouth, they like that craft fur. They like to see it move. And so it's just something I noticed anyway. So I'm going to come with this. I just got a little pencil-sized clump. I'm going to go back about halfway to the tail again. And I'm going to use the same thing that I done with the other, where I take and push it down around the hook. Now, one thing that you can do on this, I generally don't, but just a little tip. If you're ever trying to build body, I've already got my body built in on this fly, but if you're ever trying to build body with craft fur, one of the things that you can do is take it and turn it around and push it onto the hook this way, and then grab it and tie it in, and then come reverse tie it, then blow it all back and wrap until it lays back, and that'll make the craft fur stand out more. So I've got another bug that I do that way to make it stand out, because I didn't put bucktail in it. I just used craft fur. I reverse tied it so it would stand out more. So that's just a little trick you can use if y'all are trying to come up with or tying a bug that's like that. But okay, I'll go ahead and do this. I'm just going to push all this down around the hook. And then we're going to take a look at it. I didn't like where that wrapped. There we go. That's better. And then, you know, you're never going to get it even pushing down around it like that. So I'll come and not tighten up that thread yet, move it around to where I want it, and get it all the way around that hook pretty even. And then I do this the same way that I lock in my deer hair. Lift some up, make a couple wraps, come back behind it, lift some back, make a couple wraps, come in behind it. One of the things about these type bugs is, you know, I mean, you don't want material bulk, but you ain't hurting nothing with thread bulk. You know what I mean? They're big enough. It's not like tying a midge and all of a sudden you've made 10 too many wraps and now your midge is too fat. You know, you don't really have that with these. And so you don't have to be sparse with your thread. Here again, remember when I said I came back to where, when I tied in that marabou, I came back and locked in where I had tied off the deer hair. And then I just took this once I got it tied in and I went back and locked in the same place. I'm kind of making that's where all of my materials are tied in. And then I'm fixing to take and use that base right there. These are just little foam cylinders. So remember us talking about putting a little flotation in it to really make it have that action to fight against the line. And I'm just cutting these in half. And then I'm going to come right where I have that base built. We're going to put it right up here. And we're going to figure 8 it in. And so I don't want to start getting into that material back there. So I'm going to come in. I'm going to make a couple of loops this way. See here. And then I'm going to grab it and I'm going to make a couple of loops this way and see if I got it pretty even. If you don't have it even, your fly won't ride right. No, I got it off just a little bit here. There we go. That looks better. Now, we kind of need to lock these eyes in a little bit, so I'm going to start going over, figure eighting them in like this.
Where do you find foam cylinders?
Fly Shop has them. What they're for is tying foam ants. And so they sell them already in size, and the ones that I'm using are the 1/4-inch ones. They look just like this. Yep, and they'll have them in like black, brown, white, olive. That's usually the main 4 colors they have them in, but you can get those cylinders. And then I'm going to take now, and we're going to do our, and I also here, I always do this too. I almost forgot right here on this, because I'm going to be turning it and putting these eyes on. I'm just going to go ahead and put a little whip knot in it, just so what I just done don't turn loose while I'm doing my work. And then we're going to take a little bit. I don't know how much y'all messed with foam and that type thing. But super glues and stuff. I mean, super glue will work some, but it just mainly, it slides around real big. It just doesn't bond the same. If y'all ever get the gel, if you get the gel instead of the regular super glue, it's the difference in daylight and dark. Little bitty drop. You really don't want much of anything. It doesn't take much, and then it's going to flatten. And if you put too much, you will smear it around. And then I'm just going to take a pack of eyes. And they end up being these are like 5/16 or whatever. They end up being just about the same size as the cylinder. And so they just go on the end of the cylinder. Just like that. I like stuff. I use a lot of red-eyed stuff. These are chartreuse with a red pupil. All those little rock bass and a lot of those minnows and stuff will have red pupils. And I don't, yeah, you've seen all the little goggle eye and brim with the red eyes and all. And I mean, I ain't sitting here saying it makes a huge difference, but they seem to like it. And then we're going to go grab some Sinyo's Laser Dub. And I'm going to do, you'll see me do this fly different ways. Sometimes you'll see me do like a silver back with a chartreuse belly. And sometimes I'll do I'll switch that part of it up, but I do a lot of chartreuse with a white belly as well. A lot of times, to be honest with you, when it comes to bass, I'll look at a lot of the stick baits. And you'll see things where they've got like a pearl belly and a black stripe and a silver back, and like the guys are crushing them in it. Well, I'll take and replicate those colors in my bug. And so I'll kind of switch that part around and all. But this dubbing's kind of funny, you can kind of pull it apart, but if you pull it off in your links and then kind of stack it, it's funny. You can then grab it here in the middle, this Sinyo's Laser Dub, and like you couldn't pull that apart if you tried. And so right there in the center of that is where I'm going to tie in. And so I'm going to take like this. and tie it in right in front of the foam cylinder. And then see, all of this is going to drape back. We're going to get all the fluff out of it now. All the fluff out of it. And then I'm going to pull it back from around the eye. And pull it all down on the bottom because you want that to stay on the bottom. We'll build up a little dam wall here that's going to kind of help hold that back. And then we'll do another little trick here in just a second. We'll leave that alone for a second. And we're going to do the same thing with a chartreuse laser dub. Same material, just dubbing. I'll show you how I'm going to stack it here. I didn't stack that other one in front of you. I'll do this one. So I kind of try to find the long materials like that. Like that, you know, because it is dubbing. And so you kind of got to find the middle of it. And then once I stack up a little pile that I think's about right, because some of this you always put on a little more than you're going to want on there because some of it's going to fluff out on you. Now I'm just going to pinch it in the middle again. Come through that a couple of times and lock it down because we're going to make that dam wall here again. We're going to pull all that back past the hook. Make sure you get all your dubbing on the bottom and all of your dubbing on the top kind of pushed back. And then just grab everything right there behind the eyes. Actually, a lot of times I take these little clips, these little ladies' hair clips, and just put it right there and it holds all your material back for you. Right? I use those a lot. And then I'm just going to come up here and make enough of a dam wall that it's not going to, like that material is going to go backwards, not forward. But then we're going to do a little trick to help it here. So let's just go ahead and finish it off here. I always overdo this a little bit. I'll always do 3 or 4 of them just to make sure. Okay, so what I'll do to help this head, now once you get it wet, it's not going to make any difference at all. It's not going to stick up like this. But just when you first tie it, just so you know, it looks good or whatever, you can fold this back, take a little bit of this gel, put right there on the top of the eyes behind that material, and pull it back and hold it for a second. And I'll make that material drape back for you a little bit. All right, so that's a CJ's Party Crasher. I'll tell you a quick little gig on how it got its name. So we were having a streamer love fest, and we'll talk about the fly here in a second and how it works and all. We were having a streamer love fest, and afterwards we were having an after party for the guides and the tires that tied, you know. Hey, we partied with all y'all. Now we're going to go have our little, you know, thing, our little business thing. And so we go over and we have this house rented to throw a shindig, and we go to leave. Well, there's a couple of guys there, and somebody had said after party. Well, these boys just jumped in their car and followed everybody. And we get over there, and man, these 2 boys are something. I mean, it's just oddball. They're saying stuff like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it. we don't even fly fish, and we come up here and we getting to hang out with the who's who. I mean, man, isn't this cool? And then he is sitting and talking to the owner of MFC Flies. And he goes, man, I mean, I ain't never tied no flies or nothing, but I bet you could make some money on those things if a man put a business together. And he's sitting there talking to the owner of MFC Flies. And so finally, like 2:00 in the morning, they leave. And I stand up on the table and I go, oh my God, who were they with? And everybody starts looking around going, I don't know. I thought they were with you. I don't know. I thought they were with you. We were like, heck no, none of us know those boys. So I told the owner of MFC that night, I had not even come up with the bug yet. And I said, I don't know what it's going to be. I said, but the next bug I put in MFC will be called the Party Crashers. And that just happened to be the next bug I got in MFC. That was pretty cool. But
awesome story.
So
I have a question.
Okay.
You mentioned, obviously you want to keep things with movement and everything else. Well, I've been doing some reading. You can't use it for everything. What about using Rain-X to coat the stuff so that way it doesn't want to absorb the water, but yet still retains 100% movement?
You can still do some of that. I have played with it a little bit, not a lot. I don't think that there's the guys when we're doing it and messing with it, we're talking about that they thought that the scent messed with it. I don't really think that it does. I hadn't found that glues and things like that seem to matter to them much, which is odd kind of, but that definitely be something to try. Until you put it on a few of your bugs and see if it helps keep them from being quite as soggy. And as long as they still move the same, I don't know what it would hurt. Yeah, I would try it. I would tell you that anything like that pops in your head, you should try, because that's the way things are come up with. That's the way you come up with new stuff. That's the way you come up with the next new thing, is like trying these random ideas that pop in your head. So I don't know if y'all have noticed here a little bit, but this is very much shaped like a crankbait.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I have found is with these floating eyes on a light sink tip where it barely goes under. Of course, you could sink it and it'd do the same thing. I'm just fishing it closer to the column. So I was out with a boy and none of us were catching fish. All of a sudden, he puts on a chartreuse crankbait and he starts getting them. So I'm sitting there going, well, crap, I don't have a crankbait. And I thought about that fly and I went, I wonder. And I took that fly and put out there under a sink tip. You know how those crankbaits wobble back and forth from side to side like that? And I got and started just pick. And because of those eyes, it's doing that. And I started smoking those boys. And so now anytime the scenario calls for a crankbait, I'm putting this guy on. I've got it in 5 or 6 different colors. And it seems like when they're racing those crankbaits, I can race that bug and get the same response, if not a little better. And so, when I went to Mississippi this last time during last summer, they wanted everything moving 100 miles an hour. Your typical, I fish bass very slowly most of the time. Jig, let it fall, dead drift at 10 foot. Like I fish them slow a lot. And I was not catching anything. And once I started racing those bugs, they started smoking them. I mean, it was the difference in daylight and dark. And so if you tie any of these, this is a very simple tie that we just done. If you tie any of these, keep that in mind, that anywhere you think you would use a crankbait, freaking throw that dude on. And I also found out one other little trick. If you get out somewhere like that and you don't have a sinking line and you're just like, oh, that little bug would be perfect. Because, you know, you got to have some sink or the floating eyes can't fight it and you're not going to get that action, right? Because it is the two fighting against each other. You get it, right? So like the sinking line's trying to pull it down. Boom. So every time you strip, that fly's going down. And then you stop and there's just a little slack in your line. Like if you pull dull and don't ever have slack, it won't even work. You've got to accelerate it, you know, because you want that fly to come up far enough that it gets just a touch of slack in the line. Because when it does, that head's going to lift because of the flotation in it. And then that sinking line's going to pull it back down. So you end up coming through the water just like a crankbait would. And so if you don't have that sinking line, what you can do, run 5-6 foot up your line and put a big old chunk of lead. Just put a split shot on it. And I got in a jam. I never would have thought that would have worked, but to be honest, it works pretty dang good. All you're doing is looking for something to sink it a little bit. And so if you get in that position and you don't have them, just throw a piece of split shot, 5 foot up the line, and it should fish for you. If it don't fish right for you, then you need a little bigger chunk of lead. So I don't know. That's something fun, different little thing, different way to think about catching those bass, running fly crankbaits. But you know how many crankbaits you see on the wall in Walmart.
For sure.
Crankbaits work.
Yeah.
And so and then I turned around and came back here and was like, I wonder. And late summer, it works here as well. On our creeks, they don't mind something moving. Yep. Especially early and late when they're wanting to chase. But
the head is so big with the Senyo laser dub on there. I would have never thought of making it so
well,
wide.
okay. Here's something. So your head moves your bug. The head is what gives the whole bug the action on almost any fly. If you put lead eyes on it, it's a jig. It's going to fall. You're going to strip. It's going to come up. It's a jig. If you put lead on the front of any fly, it don't matter what's behind it, right? And then if you put flotation in them, they're going to go up. If you put no flotation and no sink, they're going to stay mid column. Like, you know, you can put your flies where you want them by the head, and then say those mid column flies that don't have lead, they don't have flotation. Well, how do you get them to move? They're liable to come through like a wet sock. Well, if you'll build a tail that will follow, in other words, very sparse, and then a medium midsection, but then you put a big bulky head on it, that big bulky head will make that fly move. And so moving water is good, and it makes the fly have more action. So don't be afraid to take a couple of your bugs and put a big old head on them and watch the way the action changes. Yep, that's been a thing over the years, is learning what makes those bugs move. Because, you know, when we tie nymphs, they don't have to move. They just got to look right. And they need to sink to whatever column they need, or I can put a split shot on my line, you know. But once you get into these bugs that are over 3 inches, it's all about the action. Well, I mean, the action, and I mean profile color, but it's all about getting an action in that bug. So at that point, something that big, it should swim. It should have movement. So it totally changes from our thought process on the nymphs. As soon as we start tying streamers, if you're tying streamers just for the way they look, but you're not considering the action, you're missing out on half of it. I can go out there and strip, like right now on our creeks, I can go strip a circus peanut and catch a couple of fish. But if I will jig it and bring my rod tip up and make that fly come all the way to the upper water column and then let it fall and flutter to the bottom, I mean, I might dead drift that thing 5 or 6 feet and then jig it up again and let it fall back down. Well, they're eating it when it's falling. Well, if you don't have a fly on that you can make jig, then you're not going to get them that day. Because it ain't just they were eating that fly, they were eating that fly on a jig. And so that's why I really am. I'm super focused right now on like actions, the either dead drifting and letting fall, being able to glide to the side. Like these bugs that I put, like the Sluggo and the Big Johnson, the doubles. One of the big deals on them is the way they turn in the water and kick. So, you know, a fish is almost always either, if you're bringing it downstream, he's looking at the head. If you bring it upstream, he's looking at the tail. Okay. He gets to see the side profile very rare. Well, a big brown trout wants to kill that fish on the side. He don't come in behind him and eat him. He don't swim around in front of him and eat him. He comes in and crushes him just like that, swims around with it in his mouth until it dies, and then he spits it out and turns it around and swallows it head first. And the reason they swallow them head first is so none of the spines or anything, like they eat brim, you know, well, those spines would get hung in their throat. And if they turn them around head first, all that brushes back and don't get hung up. That's the concept of, you've heard people say that they eat them head first. They do swallow them head first, but they don't kill them head first. They don't come to that fish, swim around in front of it and eat it head first. That doesn't happen. And so because of this action and the way it's fighting the line, what happens is it's coming to me. And then when I stop and pause, it turns 90 in the water column. And then you bring it back down. And then when you stop, it brings it 90 in the water column. No, Zoe. Well, that's where they want to eat it at. So if on the way back in, I'm presenting them opportunities to kill it, I feel like I'm trying to present as many kill opportunities on the way in as I can. So strip, turn it and let them eat it. Strip, turn it and let them eat it. And so that's another big deal with the flotation heads, is you can get that big 90 turn that presents all those kill shots.
How do you know when to set it?
Well, most of mine I'm getting to see. But because you're not under an indicator and because you're stripping, you feel it. Now, when I'm doing the jig technique where it's coming up in the water column and I'm dead drifting it down, it's very hard to do if you're not in water you can see, because a lot of times when they're eating it, when it's falling down, they're slacking the line and you don't feel it. And so most of the time when I'm fishing that, I'm on my creek and it's 2 to 5 foot deep and I can see the fly and I'm watching to see. And then if all of a sudden I'm watching that white fly to the bottom and it blacks out, well, I know that's a fish. But the ones that are the bigger ones that I'm stripping that are coming in and turning 90 for me, you'll feel them when they eat. It's going to be a big brown trout. And when you're sitting there stripping, even though it's got that little 2 or 3 inches of slack where that fly was able to turn, you're still going to feel him eat.
Well, what a great tutorial this has been, Chad. My gosh,
Yes.
this has been wonderful. I learned more about streamer fishing in the last hour than I
This
have
is
last.
great. I really like it.
Yeah,
Appreciate you guys having me.
Thank you so much, Chad. It's been wonderful. And I will try not to be a pest, but I hope that we can invite you again someday.
Well, and I mean, if y'all get something going on with the organization where y'all are like having some event or doing something, like let me know. If I'm free, I'd love to help.
Oh, appreciate it.
Yep. All right, guys. I'm gonna go home and eat something.
Yep.
Yeah,
All right.
thanks,
You take
Chad.
care, Chad.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Chad.
Awesome,
Yes,
awesome.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. That was a good tie. Not much going on. Let me see. We have Lane Spring, I think, on Sunday. So I'll put a reminder out there. So I think we're going to say around 9. You can get there earlier or later, whatever it is, because I know it's a little bit of a trip, and it's for some people trying to get out there. You know, if you try to get there early, that means a real early morning for you as well. So it's a fun little area to catch some trout. I haven't been there in a little over a year, so I'm really looking forward to it. So hope to see some of you guys out there. We'll see the Omaha tomorrow if you're able to make the call. If you have any questions on anything, please send me an email or text, and text is probably better, and I'll help you out. But other than that, I'll let you guys all go, and hope you enjoyed this as much as I did.
This was great.
Nice.
Yeah.
What
All right.
I really liked was not just how to make the lure, but how to fish
Fish it.
the
Yeah.
lure.
I had
Yeah.
to hold back. I was going to see if we can get a bowl of water and show us.
Oh, yeah.
But I controlled myself.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen. You guys take care, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good night.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Good night.
Good night.
Wow.
Bye.